I was known for my devastating passion, but what no one saw was the silent moment when I decided to stop letting the world drain my energy and start protecting it as if my life depended on it, because it did. My name is Izumi Shikibu, and during the Heian period, I was both celebrated and condemned for living intensely. I loved princes, wrote poetry that burned, and lived every emotion to its fullest. But I learned something that changed everything. Unwavering energy doesn't come from feeling everything all the time. It comes from a simple, radical decision to choose where you pour your life force. I spent years emptying myself in people, situations, and dramas that never filled me back. Until the day I realized every unconvincing yes was a no to my own vitality. What if I told you that you're not tired because you live too much, but because you live everything wrong? The invisible hemorrhage of energy. I would open my eyes every morning at court and already feel the weight. It wasn't sleepiness. I had slept. It wasn't illness. My body functioned perfectly. It was something deeper, as if my soul were already exhausted before the day even began. And the most disturbing thing was that I couldn't identify the source of this weariness. I only knew that at the end of each day, when I finally had time to write my poems, to live my own passions, I was completely empty. In the Heian court, I was known for my emotional intensity. I wrote poetry that made people cry, loved with a scandalous passion, and lived every feeling to its extreme limit. But what no one saw was that this intensity was slowly killing me. Not because I felt too much, but because I wasted that energy in 1,000 directions that didn't matter. I bled vitality into superficial conversations I hated, into social obligations that drained me, into maintaining appearances that didn't reflect who I really was. There were days when I participated in elaborate ceremonies, appropriately dressed, saying the right words, smiling at the right moments, and outwardly I was present and performing perfectly. But inside, I could feel my energy being sucked away like water from a cracked vase. Every fake smile was a fissure. Every conversation where I feigned interest was a leak. Every time I twisted my truth to fit others' expectations, another hole opened up. The worst part is that I thought I was being strong. I thought that this ability to be everywhere, to meet all demands, to never disappoint anyone, was a virtue. I prided myself on managing multiple lovers, multiple friendships, multiple versions of myself. But strength isn't about emptying yourself to fill others. Strength would have been saying no. Strength would have been protecting my energy as the precious resource it was. And then one day I realized it wasn't the world that was draining me. It was myself. I was my own bleeding. Every yes I gave against my true will, every mask I wore, every part of myself I hid to be acceptable, all of that had an energy cost I had never calculated. And when I finally added it all up, I understood why there was nothing left for my own life. I was living against my nature, and that is the most fatal hemorrhage there is. The myth of unlimited availability. In the Heian court, there was an unspoken rule. Valuable women were always available to receive visits at any hour, available to listen to confessions of unrequited love from people I barely knew, available to be a muse, advisor, confidant, any role someone needed me to fill at that moment. And I internalized this so deeply that my own unavailability seemed like unforgivable selfishness. I remember nights when I was in the middle of writing a poem, finally connected with my own voice, my own truth, and then someone would arrive with their urgent drama, their crisis that only I could solve, their need for immediate validation, and I would drop my poem. Always. Because saying, "I'm busy with something of my own," seemed like a cruelty that good people didn't commit. I treated my own desires as tolerable interruptions to my true function, being available to others. The most insidious thing is that this availability was celebrated. "Izumi is so generous," they would say. "She always has time for everyone," they would praise. And I confused this approval with real value. I thought that the more I emptied myself for others, the more I was worth, that my kindness was measured by my ability to never say no, never prioritize myself, never treat my own energy as something that deserved protection. But here's the brutal truth that took me years to accept. Limitless availability isn't generosity, it's self-destruction. Because I wasn't an infinite source. Every time I said yes when I wanted to say no, every time I interrupted my own life to solve other people's problems, I was drawing from an account that never deposited anything back. And slowly, inevitably, that account dried up until there was nothing left. And the worst part? The people who benefited most from my unlimited availability were never available to me in the same way. When I needed them, they had boundaries, healthy, reasonable boundaries. But I didn't. I was the bottomless pit where everyone dumped their needs. And when I finally understood that, when I realized I was becoming an empty shell while filling others, something inside me finally said, enough. The decision that changes everything. It was a completely ordinary afternoon. At the palace, a courtier approached me, asking me to revise his poems and offer suggestions, something he would never do for me. My mouth was already forming the automatic yes, that conditioned yes I gave without even thinking. But then something inside me, a voice I had stifled for years, whispered an impossible word. No. And for the first time in my life, I listened to that voice instead of silencing it. I didn't say, "Sorry, I'm busy," in that apologetic voice that begs forgiveness for existing. I didn't give 1,000 elaborate justifications to validate my right to refuse. I simply said, "I can't do that right now," and let the silence do the rest. The discomfort was physical. Every fiber of my being screamed to fill that silence with excuses, to soften my refusal, to ensure he still thought I was a good person. But I resisted, and nothing exploded. He was surprised. After all, Izumi always said yes. He made that face of someone being unfairly rejected, and I felt the guilt, rising like bile in my throat, that familiar feeling that I was being cruel, selfish, evil. But beneath the guilt, there was something new, a small thread of energy returning to me, as if by not giving that piece of my life to something that didn't matter, I was truly living for the first time. That decision seems insignificant when put that way. A no to revising bad poems. But it was the crack in the dam I had built. Because for the first time, I had treated my energy not as a public resource, available for anyone to take, but as something precious that deserved conscious choice. I had asked, "Is this worth my life force?" And the answer was no. And I acted on that answer instead of betraying it, as I always did. And here's what changed everything. Unwavering energy didn't come from having more energy. It came from stopping the bleeding I had. It wasn't about adding more water to a cracked vase. It was about finally plugging the holes. Every conscious no was a leak closed. Every time. I chose to protect my vitality instead of wasting it. I didn't just conserve energy, I multiplied it. Because energy that is consciously stored and used regenerates. Wasted energy simply goes away, forever. The hidden price of living to please. I have a secret drawer where I kept poems I never showed to anyone. Not because they were badly written. They were the most honest I ever produced. They were about Izumi, who disappeared a little more each day, suffocated under the weight of all the Izumis I needed to be. The passionate and dramatic Izumi for Prince Atsumichi, the wise and restrained Izumi for Prince Tamitaka, the refined and cerebral Izumi for the literary circles of the court. The energy cost of maintaining multiple versions of yourself functioning simultaneously is something no one calculates until they collapse. Because it's not just performing, it's remembering which version you are with which person, never letting the masks slip, ensuring that each audience sees only what they expect to see. Every morning I woke up and had to decide, who will I be today? And that decision in itself drained me before anything real even began. With my family, I hid my passionate nature, too scandalous, too intense. At court, I hid my vulnerability, too weak, too human. With my lovers, I hid my need for solitude, too distant, too cold. I was like an actress changing costumes all day long, but the stage never closed. And what I discovered is that each false costume weighs infinitely more than the nakedness of the truth. There was a devastating moment when I realized, if I took off all these masks, all these performances, what would remain? Was there still a real Izumi there? Or had I fragmented myself so much that I was just a collection of reflections of other people's desires? This question terrified me because I had no immediate answer. I had spent so much time being what others needed that I had completely forgotten who I was when no one was watching. The hidden price of living to please others isn't just the energy spent performing. It's the loss of self. It's waking up one day and realizing you've become a stranger in your own life, that your opinions are calculated for approval, your desires shaped by external expectations, even your dreams tainted by the need for validation from others. And recovering from that? It's not just stopping the performance. It's painful archaeology, digging through layers of masks until you find the bones of the person you forgot. You were. Protecting your energy is the most radical act of love. When I started saying no without justifying myself, when I stopped being available for everyone else's drama, when I treated my energy as the sacred resource it was, the court looked at me differently. Izumi has changed, they whispered. She's cold, they said disapprovingly. Selfish, they concluded. And I wanted to shout, yes, I've changed. I stopped slowly killing myself so that you would feel comfortable. And if that's selfishness, then selfishness is survival. What I discovered is that the people who complained the most about my change were exactly those who benefited the most from my former self-destruction. Those who always sought me out, but were never available when I needed them. Those who drained my emotional energy like vampires and disappeared when the conversation turned to me. They didn't miss me. They missed my free and unlimited service. Protecting my energy meant disappointing people. And that was the hardest lesson. You can't preserve your vitality and please everyone simultaneously. Every time you say yes to yourself, you're saying no to someone who expected your automatic sacrifice. And they'll make you feel guilty about it. They'll accuse you of changing for the worse, when in reality, you just stopped being complicit in your own exhaustion. But here's the truth that changed my life. I am not a universal charging station. My energy is not a public resource. And living intensely, that intensity for which I've always been known, doesn't mean living everything indiscriminately. It means living what truly matters with everything I have. It means consciously choosing where I pour my life force and fiercely protecting what remains. Unwavering energy didn't fall from the sky for me like a gift from the gods. It was a decision. It was a repeated, difficult, uncomfortable choice. It was every time I felt guilt suffocating me for saying no and breathed through it anyway. It was every moment I chose to honor my own life instead of bleeding it dry to feed expectations I never asked to carry. And now I have the energy to write the poems that truly matter, to love when I choose to love, to live as if my life were my own, because it finally is. The resurrection of the woman you buried. When I finally stopped living for others, something terrifying happened. Silence. Not the peaceful silence of chosen solitude, but the deafening silence of not knowing who I was. Without an audience. I spent so much time reflecting the desires of others that when I closed the curtains and was alone with myself, I found a stranger. A woman I had buried alive under layers of performances and now needed to unearth bone by bone. The first few weeks were the hardest. I would wake up with no one to impress, no mask to wear, no performance to prepare. And in the vacuum left by all those obligations, a terrifying question arose. What do I want? Not what my lovers wanted from me. Not what the court expected. Not what my reputation demanded. What did Izumi, the real one, the buried one, truly desire? I discovered I didn't know how to answer. There were tastes I pretended to have because they were sophisticated, opinions I held because they were popular. Even my passion for poetry was tainted. I wrote what impressed me, not what bled from within. So I began a radical experiment. I lived an entire week as if no one were watching. I wrote horrible, honest poems. I refused. Invitations without excuse. I ate when I was hungry, not when it was appropriate. And slowly, something began to stir beneath the rubble. The woman who emerged was not who I expected. She was stranger, more contradictory, less palatable than the performative versions. She wanted solitude more than I admitted. She had angers that I had always swallowed, dreams that I sacrificed because they seemed too small for the great poet Izumi. And embracing this real, imperfect, unedited woman that required more courage than any performance ever had. Protecting my energy wasn't the end of the journey. It was just the beginning. Because after stopping the bleeding, after closing the leaks, after learning to say no, the most important question remained. Now that I have preserved energy, what will I use it for? And the answer came like a whisper from the buried woman. To finally live the life you killed, trying to please those who never truly loved you. To resurrect the Izumi you sacrificed on the altar of approval. To discover, for the first time, who you are when you stop being who everyone needs you to be. The legacy you leave behind is the life you lived. I used to worry obsessively about my legacy. How would I be remembered? Would my poetry survive the centuries? Would people talk about me as a great artist or just as a romantic scandal? I spent incalculable energy trying to control my future narrative, shaping every action thinking about how it would be interpreted later. Until I realized the cruel irony. I was so busy building a legacy for the future that I forgot to live in the present. The truth no one tells you is that legacy isn't what you plan to leave behind. It's the residue of what you truly lived. It doesn't matter how many poems I write to impress posterity if each one was created performatively, calculated for approval. It doesn't matter how many stories they tell about me if the real story, the story of the woman I truly was, died unlived. The only legacy that matters is this. When I close my eyes for the last time, will I live without regret for having wasted my only life? I knew women in court who died flawless, unblemished reputations, irreproachable behavior, universal approval. And when they departed, they left behind only a polished surface devoid of depth. No real story, no lived truth, just well-executed performances until the end. They protected their image so much that they forgot to have a real life behind it. And I realized I prefer to die scandalous and alive than respectable and empty. When I started protecting my energy and living with radical authenticity, my reputation suffered. Some abandoned me. Others judged me harshly. My name was tarnished by choices I made prioritizing my truth over the approval of others. And you know what I discovered? That absolute liberation is no longer needing the approval of those who never truly knew you. That profound peace is living, knowing that each day was yours, not a performance for an invisible audience. The real legacy I want to leave isn't in the poems that survive. It's in the moments I lived fully, in the times I chose my truth over others' comfort, in the mornings I woke up and used my energy for something that truly mattered to me, in the day I stopped bleeding my life dry to feed expectations that were never mine. Because in the end, no one will live your life for you. No one will give back the years you spent being an edited version of yourself. Unwavering. Energy begins with a simple decision: to live as if this life, this single, precious, irreversible life, were yours to live, not to negotiate for approval that will never come. And that legacy? You carry that in every conscious breath, in every guilt-free no, in every yes that finally means something. That's something no one can take from you, not even death. If these 11th century words still resonate with you today, leave a like and subscribe. Because Izumi Shikibu learned the hard way that energy doesn't multiply, it's protected. And maybe it's time for you to start protecting yours. See you next time with all the energy you deserve.